All right, we're gonna start the podcast here in a second. I'm just waiting on BJ to log in here in a second. We'll go ahead and post a link on Facebook. I'll go back and edit this out later. Get us. All right, there he is. Yeah, good. All right, yeah. So getting started tonight. It's respectable to be about 2 minutes late tonight because of the Super Bowl and everything was yesterday. So yeah, I gotta forgive my voice a little bit. It's kind of going out as I talk, but I'm gonna get through it. I just want to welcome everybody back to the post Super Bowl edition of the Aftermath of Saul G. I'm joined tonight again. I think my boy's computer is working now. BJ, you there?
I'm actually on my phone because my computer's messed up.
So. You doing it on your phone? Okay, cool. Well, you hear in spirit, so it's all good, man. We're gonna try to get through it tonight. It's not gonna be a long show tonight because I was this is something that was kind of bothering me over the weekend. And if you don't know, the show is broadcast live from Atlanta. And if you weren't paying attention, the Super Bowl was yesterday. So I titled tonight's show, the Super Bowl Hypocrisy. But I also want to talk about, I guess, some of the current events that's been going on lately. And I've been bothered by some of the current events that I've been seeing going on lately because we try to be as fair as we can on this show. We try to ask questions. We try not to be, while we've all admitted that, you know, we fall on the right, conservative to Republican to libertarian to whatever. We try to be as fair as we can on the show. But like I said, I think the political semantics that are going on right now, the way people are talking to us, it's like I've never understood why people need someone to tell them how to feel about something, right? It doesn't make any sense. I feel something, right? It's because it's what I feel. You don't have to tell me I need to feel this way about something. And I feel like there's a lot of that going on now. I've got a BJ, are you going to still be able to share, or are we going to be able to get that clip that I sent you, or do I need to try and do it?
Let me see. Do you want to play it now?
Yeah, the Pelosi clip.
I should be able to do it. Let me see.
Okay, yeah. See if you can share that Pelosi clip for me, because this is some of the political things that I would just like to get rid of altogether. And we've already had a discussion about the wall. And my point is, if you're not for the wall, to say you don't want it because you feel it's a waste of money. It's simple, right? You don't want the wall because it's clearly just a waste of money. So if you don't want the wall because it's a waste of money, that's a completely different viewpoint than what you're about to see on this quick little video clip. And if I'm not mistaken, this might have been before I think this was before the shutdown, but this goes along with some of the political things that I hope get taken out from both sides. But, you know, go ahead and play the clip.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Let's try to play it. I can't hear anything though. I think it's in your headphones or something. Hold on. Wait a minute, yeah, because I was about to say, I think it's going to your Bluetooth, the audio.
You hear
All
it
right,
now?
rewind it back. Try to start it from the beginning again. All right, we're just gonna stop it. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna work because apparently we can't hear it. Not sure why we can't hear it, but basically what she came out and said was the wall. I guess I'm not gonna even try to do a Nancy Pelosi impression, but it's like basically what she said was the wall is an immorality. It's not a wall between two countries. It's a wall between Trump supporters and reality. And she goes along and she wants to talk about this. And I think I believe people are. Bottom line is, and I'll say this on the show: if you're a conservative, and see, we got Anthony joining tonight as well. Let me go ahead and get him in here. If you're a conservative and you think that putting up a wall is going to stop drug trafficking, you're an idiot. If you think putting up a wall is going to stop illegal immigration, you're an idiot. I talked about this in an earlier show I did on another channel earlier. It's not about we can take this type of stance with anything. So to me, it's not a winning argument saying it won't work. And hold on, who is this? We got somebody else trying to get it. Oh, okay, you gonna log back in on your computer? Okay, I got you. But it's a situation where, for example, if you say a wall doesn't work, I say, well, what supports your house, right? A wall is a deterrent for anybody, right? Like some people, you live in a gated community. You have a gate. Why? Because you want to be able to monitor who comes in and out your complex. Now, can I break the gate? I've been in plenty of apartment complexes where, people will just break through the gate. So yeah, you can smash through the gate. You can do, I can't use the actual word, but bottom line is where you follow very closely to somebody before the gate comes down. You can do that. You can call somebody who you don't know. There are multiple things that you can do, right? But at the bottom line, all we're saying is it's a deterrent. And I think that needs to go ahead and be the stance that the right and conservatives need to start taking with this. We're not saying, and if you are saying this, please be very clear that you're saying that you believe it so I can go tell you this person is an idiot. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you think that a wall is going to, illegal immigration was 20,000 people last year, you know what? Nobody came across because we built a wall. It worked. It's not going to happen. Okay, they're going to find a way around it. Like you said, in a story I'm going to get to in a little bit, you can get in this country by overstaying your visa. And that's pretty much like a plane's going to take you in here. A wall's not going to shut that down. But we need to get out of the semantics of politics. Don't say a wall is immoral. Just say it's not going to have the desired effect that you think we believe. But first of all, clarify what you believe the desired effect is. If we're talking about zero immigration, zero illegal drugs, zero sex trafficking, what else do they like to say? Zero, terrorists, Arabs. Apparently Arabs are coming through the border in Mexico now as well. So if you believe that's what's going to happen, then you're an idiot, okay? We're talking about deterring people from doing it. That's all. However they want to build it, however they need to structure it, if it's a deterrent. Because bottom line, if there's nothing there, that means, I got a commercial license. I could drive a semi-truck straight across the border with whatever. There's nothing to stop it. If there's a wall there, I don't think you can get through the sand, but, just saying. If there's a wall there, at least I got to say, okay, I can't drive my semi-truck through there, being if I could get through the sand. You feel what I'm saying? So I think that there's got to be just an honest conversation about what it's going to do, what you believe it's going to do, how much is it going to cost. And then we need to understand, what does this mean as far as the federal budget is concerned? What he's asking for. Can we get another program that costs $5 billion, right? Like, what if there is I don't know, there could be some sort of any sort of program. I'm not going to try to make up one and try to figure one out, but we know what $5 billion represents in our economy, kind of, sort of, but we don't really know what that looks like in a government program. Because if I'm not mistaken, the national defense, we almost spent like half, I think they want to spend $500 billion on national defense, or it might have been more than that. And we want to spend $1 trillion on infrastructure. I remember that one. So if we're going to spend $1.5 trillion on military and infrastructure, then how does that $5 billion compare to some of our other government programs? I see Anthony joined us real quick. I want to go ahead and I can bring him in. He might have a comment or something that he wanted to say. Anthony, can you you can unmute yourself, man? You doing all right?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. You know, I had to light somebody up earlier today, but you know, it's all right.
Yeah, man. People love coming to, I mean, I stay out of it, you know, man. People love coming to my inbox. It's like, man, you know, so you know, you got some leftist friends, and I'm like, no, I just have friends. You know, I don't consider them blah this or blah that. You know, they speak their opinion. It is what it is. But
right.
You stay in a relative. You're not as close to Atlanta as I am. But what were your thoughts on the Super Bowl weekend?
So, hold on 1 second. It was actually I was downtown, man. It was crazy. It was packed, man. It was a lot going on. It was a lot of activity. I went out for a little bit downtown, but it was just too hectic, man.
You think this good time? You think the city did a good job as far as like security? I think they did a good job. Everything is. I mean, I know they couldn't maintain it. I didn't like the flow of traffic. I thought the flow of traffic was bad. I thought they did a good job. What did you say?
Well, the interstate was good or whatever. It was just the streets were bad.
Correct, but that's how they had them blocked off. So it was basically like a one-way in. And yeah, I didn't really know if there was a better way of doing that. That was just like my only complaint. But as far as MARTA, public transportation, public safety, police, security,
law enforcement everywhere.
Yeah, but I think they did a good job. I don't remember at any point in time ever being like somebody bothering me or whatever the case may be. But I think that the quote unquote coalition force of police officers that they had working, I think they did a good job. As a ride share driver, I thought correct. As a ride share driver, I thought the airport was also pretty clear for all the people coming in and out. I don't think that there was like that line that wraps around almost to 85.
Right.
I thought it was very clear. Even the ride share pickup zone was relatively clear for the most of the time that I was there. So
that made it a lot easier for them for where we picked them up at.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so before we get into a little bit more of the Super Bowl talk, since you just joined us, BJ, I want to see if you can load that video, and I'm gonna talk to Anthony for a second. What do you think about what I was saying?
Which video?
The one that we were trying to get where Nancy Pelosi was talking, because I want everybody to hear something that she said during it, and it's something that I think is very important. And she says it's not about politics, but you clearly said something that we need to be aware of, because, you know, she kind of hints to like, there's something going on that you don't see. And if there's something going on that we don't see, why not just tell us? Instead of just putting that out there like, oh, he's really doing something really, really bad, but he wants you to focus on the wall. So you're just going to stay focused on the wall. No, Nancy, what is he trying to do? Please let us know. Instead of just throwing this thing out there for us to have to sit there and think about. But yeah, that was one of the things that kind of bothered me when we talk about the hypocrisy. That's my whole thing about the wall. I don't want my politicians just to speak directly to me. I think we are moving both sides way too far. You're trying to tell me how to feel about something instead of just saying, hey, look, I don't want to do this law, or I don't want to sign this bill, or I don't want to send funds here for these reasons like this. We don't have to make it like a wall being racist or a wall being, or even just saying like, if the word wall is bothering people, can we just say? I mean, what is there? Is there a nicer way of saying wall, Anthony? I don't know. I mean, you know who you vote for. Is there a better way that they could, instead of saying, because I think the wall goes back to does it go back to like the Trump chants? Is that what the wall kind of?
Yeah, it directly goes back to the, I guess for the Democrats or liberals or whatever, it goes back to the Trump, the whole wall chants, build the wall, build the wall. Right, and I think a lot of people on the left feel like it's just another one of those campaign promises that Trump feels like he has to solidify, how can I put it, to concrete his legacy. He has to have that wall. The man is about self. He's about him. He's a multi-billionaire. He's about him, man. At the end of the day, if he gets that wall, bro, that will like cement his legacy. You know what I'm saying? Okay,
so what if he extends what's already there? Can we extend the we need a new slogan. Let's see if we can get a slogan that maybe people on your side can get along with. Extend the fence.
Yeah, but it's the intent. It's not even really about the fence per se. It's the intent behind it. It's like I read through the BS, man. When we talk about the wall, I feel like me and you discussed this before. I never hear anybody on the right side talk about let's build a wall on the Canadian-U.S. border.
We talked about that before.
Right. So since we're talking about the southern border, you're talking about you got more zero, you got black and brown people coming through those borders.
Right.
And it's like, how can I put this? That's like you're saying, like he's saying, like a lot of people I hear on the right talk about it are saying, build a wall. We need border security. But I feel like that's just a way of covering up the real intent why they want the wall.
But the wall, but my thing is, it feels like people are acting like if the wall's built, immigration just stops. The only thing the wall does is stop people from illegally coming in here. It doesn't just stop.
Bro, look, I was stationed in El Paso at one time. Like, if you cross that border, bro, like you almost like deserve to get into the country. That's a large border, brother. It's not even if you build a wall, people still can climb over it. And I don't know if you're paying attention to the news, they found tunnels where the drug traffickers are building tunnels underneath the ground and coming into the U.S. To bring drugs to the U.S. or to smuggle humans and stuff like that. So a wall is not going to stop anything. There's certain parts of the border itself where you can't build a wall because it has a river or it has a mountainous area where it's not feasible to build a wall there. And then you have some ranchers who have they have their land sits right there on the border. And a lot of times those communities, since the U.S. has been, around, a lot of times those communities have, relationships with each other. They work with each other. They come in and they work on the ranch, go back home, or, they marry, have families and stuff like that. So that disrupts their whole life, their whole lifestyle they probably had since 1845. You know what I'm saying? So
okay.
I think I think what it is, we need to talk to the people that's really on the border that live there, who's really going to be affected about it. Because a lot of times I hear people talk about let's build this wall. It's people that live in Wisconsin, New York City, Montana. There's nowhere near the southern border.
Okay, so then I'll play devil's advocate for a second because I do this role very well. But what about all the illegal drugs and opioids that are coming through? Like, they just don't affect people on the border. They affect everyone all across the country. So if you just say that it's only going to affect the people on the border, what about all the drugs? And for all we know, human trafficking isn't just going on with the border. It's a nationwide crisis. So how could you only say that it only affects everyone on the border? All right, take my hat off now. Go ahead. How would you respond to that?
For example, right? So I was watching the news the other day. The U.S. Border Patrol or Homeland Security just busted a semi-truck, full of fentanyl. Coming over the U.S. border, you have truck drivers driving over the border all the time, and some of them, working with the cartels, and the U.S. citizens too now. Just helping get paid, basically to be what you call a mule. They just transporting drugs over the border. They covered up, hide them in tires, or they hide them in dolls and teddy bears, all kind of crazy stuff or whatever. And then also too, a lot of your drugs come through the U.S. ports. come through Port of Miami, come through Savannah, come through one in Jersey, Virginia, wherever there's a legal port. People fly in, they even using drones now. They even fly airplanes. They've been flying airplanes for years, dropping off drugs into the U.S. or whatever. So it's not like the border's the main source of the issue. Most of your illegal stuff happens at the ports, at your legal ports. It's just about the matter of us putting the funding for it, so the Border Patrol and Customs has the technology and the assets they need to search all those containers in the shipyards or the airports and stuff like that.
Okay, well then I got this simple yes or no question. I'm gonna just keep it simple, yes or no. Do you believe people should be able to walk straight from Mexico to the United States without any deterrent? I mean, without any obstruction at all. They should be able to come straight from Mexico into the United States without any obstruction at all.
No, I think there needs to be some type of check. Like I do believe in like border security. I do believe we need to have like a checkpoint where, hey, like come to the border. What do you come in the country for? Or you come here to work? You come here to trade, or whatever you come to do.
Right. So basically, in your explanation is you're saying that because it's flown in, because it comes in through tractor trailers at legal ports of entry, that the wall is not going to quote unquote get the desired effect. It's more or less like now it's just a campaign promise.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you would be perfectly fine for whatever type of technology that border security funding them, giving more agents, doing the drones, using more of a technology based.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes across the border, that'd be a little crazy, but like I'm making a joke, but like if somebody comes across the border, like it's kind of like the Mission Impossible lasers come up and like nets come down and like they just get there till Border Patrol comes up. Like technology that prevents people from coming over instead of like.
Well, I don't know about catching folks with nets.
Well, I'm joking, but you know what I mean.
Okay.
Like
right, yeah. I say give them the funding they need to do their job. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm always on USA Jobs and I see a whole bunch of them advertisers recruiting for Border Patrol and whatever. Like,
right.
So that's what I believe. The wall's not gonna do nothing, bro. China had a great wall. It's still to stop.
This is my thing, and so far in the future, based on Hollywood, walls work. I'm just saying, like, if you look at all these movies, once the upper echelon of people take over, they always build these huge walls, and they basically keep the city on the inside. Like, there's been a couple of movies where they keep showing the walls do that. But in reality, I feel like if there's technology, right? Let's use technology. Like, for example, I know you've seen the fenceless yards for dogs now. You don't need a fence to keep your dog in the yard. I'm not comparing, immigrants to dogs. I'm just saying there are ways of keeping things in check using technology without an actual physical border. So I do understand that, but I think that if they would say, "Hey, look, we will look at whatever type of barriers we need to put up." And, technology, I'm willing to put $5 million or whatever it needs to be, because $5 million really probably ain't a lot in the U.S. government budget. But I'm willing to invest in new technologies. Let's get some new firms together. Because to be honest, I mean, you got to understand that your side is more than likely all the tech companies. So give us technology's place of a wall. You understand what I'm saying? If you got some technology that, that can take a place of it and it still achieves the desired effect, right? Because quote unquote, this is what people got to understand. This is where the semantics of politics come in. If I say, hey, me being a libertarian on the right that I am, you being a Democrat on the left that you are, and I come at you and I say, Anthony, what is the goal that we're trying to do? And we say, we both agree border security is necessary, and we both said that. Border security is important. How is it achieved? If immigration goes down, if the amount of drugs goes down because we have an influx of technology or whatever the case may be that's needed and necessary, and it causes immigration to go down, the desired effect is met. At that point, I say, people on the right, you got to let the wall go. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Because
right.
You claim you're about border security. So if in some way possible, all these tech companies say, hey, look, you don't need a wall. We got this, and this that can produce the same desired effect. Please, technology take over, because I think sometimes we don't allow technology to do enough. And, I'm still waiting on some things for technology to kind of hit the military, or we don't necessarily need as much manpower. Not necessarily saying I'm ready to go to drone warfare and robot warfare, but I am getting to the point where it seems like we've been putting, boots on the ground since we started this country. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there should be a way for us, technology to basically have some sort of advantage. So yeah, if we're about border security and you're about stopping all the things that you claim a wall will do, if technology can come in and replace that, I'm not a stickler for the wall. I'm a stickler for, I believe, the country, and on both sides, because this might be something that we can get what we said earlier, right? We already know it would be super expensive to do something with Canada, but maybe technology can create a way where we don't need. There's probably some way that it's not as expensive, and we can have borders on our northern border and on our southern border. And I think that would be. And I think, honestly, technology is going to be the only way to do that. You know what I mean? Right. I don't feel like we're going to be able to get there doing it with, with like physical structures, because if you don't want to be hypocritical, you got to start talking about Canada as well. Because if you build a wall in Mexico, because it's the other thing about it that you got to think about. If you were one of these people who are trying to get in here and you were going to try to not come in through a flight, a boat, a tunnel, whatever the case may be, and they say, well, can't get through Mexico anymore, it's shut off. Well, where is there not a border at? Oh, just go up to Canada.
Right.
And Canada has been very accepting of those Syrian refugees that we didn't want to take in. They've been very accepting of just basically, quote unquote, doing a lot of humanitarian aid, and say, if America doesn't want you, come here. If your country, you're being persecuted, kind of come to Canada. They're not really taking them as tough. You might want to look at doing the same thing with Canada as well. That's just my
opinion. Yeah. America, it's in a different place now. I think it's just immigration is what made this country at the end of the day. Whether it's been illegally, it's been illegal. It was illegal first, and then now you got legal immigration. I guess you want to say. I don't know, man, because I look at it. You could be stopping in the next Einstein, the next person to design the rocket to go to Mars. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it.
I look at it somewhat differently, only because it just depends on. Some countries where they are physically were not necessarily like their original lands. So it's like somebody has to move from where they used to be to kind of sort of take over. So I kind of say, like, if I'm an invading force, I would consider this country was formed by a hostile force. I wouldn't say it was formed by illegal immigrants. I would say we came over and kicked the Indians out, but I wouldn't say that we were illegal. And I put you like that. That is more or less like what they're trying to say, like the caravans represent, right? Like the caravans are going to come over here and start to extend Mexico into Texas or something like that. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think, like, with the creation of America, and even with some of the things that were going on with when the immigration at Ellis Island, I believe, when you had all that stuff going on, I do believe that a lot of people did kind of slip through the cracks, because a lot of the Irish, a lot of the Italians, a lot of the Polish, a lot of those people who were coming through Ellis Island, I highly doubt they all had paperwork and kind of sort of what they're doing with the Hispanic population. I kind of think that's what they were doing to those non-speaking white, non-speaking white immigrants back in the day. So I feel like that's kind of what's going on now.
Yeah, yeah. Side note, I don't know if you ever studied that time period. That was pretty much Ellis Island pretty much happened right after the Civil War, right? Pretty much that's when they started really doing Ellis Island, I guess, coming through there, right? I think.
Yeah, I was about to say I can't confirm or deny that because I didn't do my study on Ellis Island for the show. So I don't
yeah.
know.
I was talking to somebody, but I haven't confirmed this. They were saying pretty much after the Civil War that like 30% of the American population was made up of former slave Africans. So that's when the U.S. government decided to say, hey, we need to make sure we need to widen our country back up again. They started allowing more Europeans. That's when they started say, hey, send all your poor Europeans over here to America. So I found it interesting. I don't know if you ever heard that before.
Yeah, I've heard that before. I heard one of the biggest reasons why the illegal immigration is a big debate is based on they don't want America to become more brown. I've heard that before. I've heard that.
I totally 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I've heard it. I'll say, I can agree to a certain extent only because I'm starting to hear more about it's hard to be a white man more than ever before. So now that I'm starting to hear this, it's so hard to be white type thing. It's kind of like I don't know if I'm ever gonna be able to rock with it's hard to be the majority. Not saying that your life as an individual can be difficult. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's not like every white person is rich or whatever the case may be. But I just think
I was listening to Killer Mike. I was listening to Killer Mike interview on, I think it was on Sway. And he said basically what you're saying, the same thing you're saying. He said it this way. He said, basically, a white man understand that, your white women mad at you, black folks mad at you. So it's just like right now you feel like you get kicked in the balls from everywhere. It was kind of funny.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. You know what I mean? But the one thing I'm not going to say is because the other problem is like it can't just be like a woe is me for one side of the political aisle, right? Like you can't say everything's great if you're a white liberal. But if you're a white conservative, everything is bad. Sometimes some people say, oh, everything's great for black liberals. No, it's not. No, it's not. And it's tough being a black conservative. Well, technically, no, it's not because, that's what you like to point to. The crime and the other stuff that goes on, the getting locked up and all the rest. So it's not easy either way. So I think that's one of those things where, like I said, it's the semantics of politics. And you're starting to hear it a lot now. And now religion is starting to be into it. And they're saying, you can say who's the person who's discriminated more than anybody is the white Christian male. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. I mean, it to me is such a ridiculous statement. You understand what I'm saying? Like the white Christian male, like, is that where we're going? Like, no. It might be on a couple of news stations. But trust me, Joe Osteen is not walking through Houston like, oh man, it's hard for me to go to the grocery store because I'm just being
right.
Like it's not that. That's not correct. Yeah, it's like it's a talking point. You understand what I'm saying? It's a talking point just to once again try to put that wedge in between us for no reason. And all I'm saying is like, look, and this is the point I've got to. I'm like, if you're a white Christian male, I don't care. You should only be concerned about your family and God, right? Why do you care what CNN says about you? Why do you say, oh, look at what this person, they're trying to, because somebody said, I think Trump proposed being able to study the Bible in public school, right? And everybody was like, oh, no, separation of church and state, blah, 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 this. And, then the people was like, see, there you go. Look at Trump trying to bring the Bible back into the schools. And then look, here you go. They don't, they're immoral and blah, blah. And see, that's what I'm trying to say. It shouldn't have to be either way. You understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, if people research what the Bible means, it means book. So if it's going to be optional, I don't necessarily see no point because, we learned about, that's where I learned about religion in high school. Now, I didn't go into depth about like laws, but I mean, like for example, the religion called Sikhism, Shkism. Like remember Sikh? Oh, Sikh, yeah. So if you remember, that, like, I don't remember which class it was, it might have been world history, but they basically told you about all the religions of the world and about which one had the most people. You learned about Buddhism and Hinduism and pretty much all the major world religions and a little bit about them, but you didn't like we didn't get like I don't know what book Buddhists read, but we didn't read that. We learned about Islam. They talked about the Crusades. I mean, we learned about the Crusades, but we talked about Islam, the major areas and stuff like that. So we can have these type of conversations. I believe, I just put it to you like this, and this is where they're going to be upset. If you allow people to open up one book in the school, then you're going to have to allow them to open up all books in the school. Yep. Because then my thing is, if they say optional Bible classes, are you okay with optional Quran classes? And I think we know what the answer is. Are you okay with optional Torah classes? You're probably more okay with the optional Torah classes. But they say, oh, cool. You want to bring the Bible in for these optional classes? No problem. Can we bring the Quran in as well? No. Then that's you see what I'm saying? Now it's going to be picking and choosing. So I get it, but at the end of the day, you're when you do something like that and you want to put in the public sector, I believe that's one of the things where, like, I do believe that they should be separate. And while I might like the idea personally, I'm saying you're going to be upset about what follows. You understand what I'm saying? So to prevent people from going up saying, I'm going to take my kid out of that school, they're not going to be teaching that book of 8, blah, 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 because you know that's what's going to come next, right? Mm-hmm. So it's no point of even opening that door. I get it. I see what you're trying to do, but that ain't a battle we need to be concerned with right now. Right. But, so we've been talking about, like I said, these are some of the things of the day, but the name of the show is actually the Super Bowl Hypocrisy. And this is what I wanted to get into with you, because just for the record, you were you're a supporter. Guys, I don't know if I call you a Colin Kaepernick supporter or you support what he was doing.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so my hypocrisy was that was really bothering me this weekend was what I saw going on in and around Atlanta. Now, my second question is, did you feel any type of way about Big Boy and Travis Scott performing at the Super Bowl, or Maroon 5 for that matter? Did you feel any type of way about that?
About Big Boy performing?
Big Boy and Travis Scott performing, or Maroon. You can throw Maroon 5 in.
Because I'm gonna say this. I was one of those people at first who was like super like, yo, like, I'm not watching football no more, but I'm gonna be honest, I love football. So it's been hard. It was hard for me to really to not watch it. So instead of not watching it, what I did is I actually like donated to his organization he has or whatever. So Kaepernick? Kaepernick. He's called Know Your Rights Camp, where he basically goes teaches kids about
I'm sorry, you can't promote that on the show. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead. I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you, man. I'm messing with you.
Okay.
What's it called? You said know your rights. What now?
It's called Know Your Rights Camp, where basically he can host little workshops for kids and teach them about their basically civil rights or whatever, what rights they have, or like Bill of Rights, pretty much. And he does a host of other activities. So I did do that. So I really, I didn't judge them because I wasn't in a position to judge them at all. Or really shouldn't even judge people, because just because people don't fall in line what you think they should supposed to do doesn't mean they're not down for Kaepernick or what he was standing for, because everybody has their own way of approaching an issue. You know what I'm saying? Like me, like I said, like instead of because usually every year I go to 3 Falcon games. I usually go to the Saints game, or if they play some like team like the Cowboys, or play the Packers, I go to those games. So instead of buying those tickets, I donate that money. The money I would have spent on tickets, I donate to an organization or whatever. So I think there's, and then people forget, like, Big Boy, and I know, Big Boy, he is Atlanta, and he's done a whole lot of things for the Atlanta community. And it's like they cancel out every other thing that he did to make it seem like, oh, like you're not down for the people. You're not, oh man, please. This man, if you listen to him and Andre 3000's lyrics, all their albums or songs, it was conscious based in a sense. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. And I see that's why I call this, and that's what I want to get into now for the later part of the show, is I want to talk about, I was getting not upset, but I was bothered by what I saw. Because like you said, when you want to have an honest conversation, because like I said, if you ask me about the whole Kaepernick situation, I'm not going to go deep into it, whatever the case may be. But like I said, you supported what he's doing. I didn't knock the cause. Only thing I had an issue with was the method, because I didn't think the method was necessarily because I said, like you said, if kneeling, in my opinion, if kneeling was all you were doing, and you say you're bringing attention to it, but like you said, he formed the foundation that you had a way to donate to. He's telling kids about their civil rights. I can't have a problem with that if that's what he's doing outside of it. To some of the other players who were just taking knees, and they're like, yeah, I'm just taking a knee. Okay, then after the game, you just go home, or you just go to the strip club, and you just party and live an NFL lifestyle, and you don't do anything else in your community. But then when Sunday comes, you just take that knee. I feel like that's like ineffective. But I'm not going to sit there and bash you and knock you and call you all out your name just because you want to do it, because guess what? You have a right to take a knee. You have a right to do it. There's no way around not having a right to take. People say, well, you're at work. Well, I get all that. Then if I can't do it, you got to fire me. That's what I look at it, because bottom line is you can only do on your job what they allow you to do. So if I take a knee and you fire me, guess what? I can take a knee. If I take a knee and you fire me, doesn't mean I can't take a knee. It just means I know the consequences of my actions. The same way, like, it could be looked at as like extreme absences, a lot of different things. But what was bothering me during the Super Bowl was the hypocrisy that I saw from a lot of like the black celebrities, if you will, or black Twitter, right? Because what we need to understand is, and it goes back to what you said earlier, everybody's struggle, everybody's quote unquote protest, everybody's way of doing things will not be the same. However, you can't say that Travis Scott or Big Boy are some sort of sellouts or Uncle Tom's now just because they performed at the Super Bowl, just because they didn't do what you wanted them to do. Meanwhile, right? It's like it's like you can go on Twitter and find somebody saying, oh, Travis Scott was whack. His performance was whack at the Super Bowl. Oh, he had SpongeBob and all this type of stuff. And how he gonna perform for the racist NFL when Kaepernick, blah, 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 blah. This was while we were kneeling, and he just basically spit in our face. And I'm sitting there thinking, but wait a minute, how did you see his performance? Oh, you watched the Super Bowl. Oh, so you're not, you feel what I'm saying? And it's like, you can take these stances. Like, for example, we know Meek Mill said he came out and told Travis Scott not to perform at the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, I think Meek Mill had at least 2 parties this weekend that he was hosting. Why? Because of the Super Bowl. Now you can say, oh, well, the money doesn't go to the NFL, but you can't, like, to me, you're benefiting and you're still basically doing something on the back of something that you say you're against, right? Like, if you're against the NFL, like, the only person that I can think of that was actually legit on this stance was Andre. Andre 3000 was nowhere to be seen. I don't know if you heard about him being anywhere or him making any sort of appearances or being at the club. Andre 3000 was like, he not with it. And I don't even know if he watched the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he watched halftime, but he came out and he was like, he's not doing it. But everyone else besides Andre was like, yeah, man, Travis Scott don't do it. Like, another one person I had an issue with was Cardi B. Cardi B came out and said, oh, no, they tried to get me to do the Super Bowl, but I told them no. She was standing on her morals. But Cardi B, you performed at the Super Bowl Super Fest, which is a concert. Yeah. It's a concert sponsored by Pepsi. The NFL has a sponsorship with Pepsi. So it's like, yeah, Pepsi might have signed a check, but Pepsi wouldn't have had that concert without the NFL. So to me, it's the same. It's the same thing. And I got
and Pepsi go home.
Huh?
I'm sorry. I said Pepsi go home.
Correct. Yeah, man. We trying to get Sprite and Coke again. We tired of you Pepsi and Sierra. Like, yeah, get out. Get out, man. Like, yeah, you're terrible. But anyway, you feel me? Like that to me, that is hypocrisy at the biggest. And even a discussion I had on the Spades table, which kind of bothered me a little bit because it's supposed to be well known, but you understand that people who support like the word on the street or even what's published is Super Bowl performers are unpaid. You heard that, right? They're not given a check. What they're supposed to be given is exposure to what half the planet basically, and they show like the increase in play after the Super Bowl, the increase in like, I mean, we don't really say album sales anymore because nobody buys albums anymore. Can you remember last stream? Yeah, can you remember the last album you bought that was like physical?
I can't even remember, man. It's been some years.
Yeah, I think I can, but yeah, it's probably been about, it's been a while. It's probably been about 14 years. 14 for me. If it's a CD that I actually bought from like the store, yeah. So they show you like, hey, if you perform for us, this is the boost you'll get. This is the exposure. Like last night, Maroon 5 was exposed to people who didn't know about their music. So that's the draw that you get for performing the Super Bowl, right? So they're not paid. So the fact that you said, oh, I'm going to make a stance. I'm not going to perform for the NFL for free, but I will take a Pepsi check that, you know what I'm saying, during the Super Bowl because you were also in a very prominent commercial as well. I think that to me was why I called it Super Bowl hypocrisy because everybody if you went to a Super Bowl party, if you were in Atlanta because of the Super Bowl, if you went downtown, if you went to the NFL experience, if you went to any of the concerts, if you watched the Super Bowl, if you listened to the Super Bowl, if like me, you work with a rideshare company and you're picking up people, you're all complacent. We're all guilty. So it's hard to take this, well, you shouldn't do this when it's like you can do whatever you want to do. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying, like, you have your own opinion. But at the same time, I think it's unfair to call somebody out of their name only because you think you know what actions they should be taking. Because if you went around the city, I heard they were doing something with the Kaepernick mural one of these days. I don't remember what they did.
Yeah, they tore down one, you know where Morehouse is at? You know where Morehouse College is?
Yeah.
Yeah, they tore down that mural off of, what road is that?
That's not Lowry, is it?
I think it is Lowry. I think it is. It's like when you come up, when you drive up Clark.
Are you talking about the one that it was a Black Panther, and then it used to be Michael Vick, and then they converted it to Kaepernick? They took Who tore it down?
I think the city did, or somebody did.
That was dumb. Did they leave the Black Panther one up?
No, they tore the whole. I think they tore the whole building down.
Wow. But see, like that, but that once again goes back to my point. Like, with stuff like that going on, people are like, dang, you know, they're going to tear down a mural in Kaepernick and you got people performing at the Super Bowl as if they are doing some sort of injustice to Kaepernick. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, there is no injustice to the Kaepernick because I have a solution. And I told somebody at the Super Bowl party, this is the simplest solution that we could have ever had. But the bottom line is, I can commend what you did. Doesn't necessarily mean I agree with what you did, but I can commend what you did because you actually put action into your protest. You said, hey, look, I support what you're doing. I'm not going to go to a Falcons game and with my ticket money, I'm going to invest in something I believe in. I have nothing but to be able to respect that. On the other side, I also say there is a way that you can solve. There's always a solution to the problem. And when we get up here and we grandstand and we talk about certain topics and people to get out there, because it's easy to be against Trump. It's easy to come out and say, I support the kneeling if you're Black. It's all that stuff is easy. But if you support it, like you say, this situation, well, what did you do above that? Did you go above and beyond that? Did you do anything in your community that was going to uplift? Did you even just talk to some younger people and tell them about, like I said, how to interact with the police or just give some sort of information, because just saying, oh yeah, I support the kneelers, F the NFL, it's not really doing anything. You understand what I'm saying? So my point was, the simplest way to solve, and this is still on the table, here's a simple solution to the Kaepernick situation, because apparently, based on a slight argument that I had, it's not about the money anymore. Second, this is going to be a question that I'm going to go ahead and give you the solution. Do you believe Colin Kaepernick should be in the NFL? Yes or no? Plain.
Huh? Do I believe he should be in the NFL?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Look, man, look at half the backup quarterbacks in NFL teams signed this year that were hot garbage.
Okay, so at this point, so based on what you said, look at all the backups. He could be in the NFL. You believe he is a good enough athlete, quarterback, whatever, to make an NFL roster. So, bam, here is my solution to the entire Colin Kaepernick problem, and we can go ahead and nip this in the bud, and we can watch NFL football as guilty-free as possible. There's a quarterback in Green Bay named Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers holds out and says, I am not reporting to training camp until you make Colin Kaepernick my backup. Do you think Green Bay would do it?
Nope, because you know why? I grew up in Wisconsin. And look, and them white folks up in Green Bay is not going to have that.
So what you're telling me is Aaron Rodgers don't have enough pull to get Colin Kaepernick back in the league, even in Green Bay, even if he said he won't play?
Not in Green Bay. I'm telling you, man, believe me. I grew up in Wisconsin. I know that's I grew up in Milwaukee, but Green Bay is 90% Caucasian, and them folks is not gonna have that.
Okay, now once again, I'm gonna use Aaron Rodgers as the example. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league?
Yeah.
Do you think another team, if Aaron Rodgers was to be traded, would want to try to put some package together to get Aaron Rodgers?
Depends on the city and the team.
I just like this: if he was available, people would want him, right? Like he's not. You don't think he's like okay? So that goes to my point. So if he made that stance and the city of Wisconsin said no, do you believe any NFL team across the country said, "Hey, we'll take the Aaron Rodgers and Colin Kaepernick deal"? Yes or no? Any team across the league, at least one team would take it. So then I'm not saying that it should be left on Aaron Rodgers' shoulders to do that, but to me, that is the solution to the problem. I feel like somebody like, Cam Newton, because of his shoulder, probably don't have that pull no more. But same thing with somebody like Cam Newton, or he could have said, "Hey, look, I'm not doing this until you sign what's his name as my backup."
Right.
One quarterback with enough clout. They're not doing it in New England. We know that, but one quarterback with enough pull could have said, "Hey, look, I want him to be my backup, and I'm not going to play." I think Drew Brees has it. You know what I mean? Like, there's some quarterbacks with enough.
Tom Brady definitely got it. The closer one.
Yeah. Now Tom Brady has enough clout to do it, but I don't necessarily know if he would do that. He would get. I believe. Bottom line. Well, now, if Tom Brady did that, then he would definitely go down as the greatest of all times. And then, you couldn't even hate on him anymore. I honestly think if Tom Brady said, "Yo, make him my backup for the last 4 years of my, I'm gonna play till I'm 45. Make Colin Kaepernick my backup. We're gonna bring him up to New England. We're gonna show him the Patriot way, and blah 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 blah." Problem solved.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But that's what
the issue is him not being able to. It's kind of not being able to play anymore. People feel like he's been blackballed from the NFL.
Correct. But what I'm saying, I just think that if one player had done that, then the whole thing would have been not one player, but you would have to be great. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And we have great.
And I think the players miss out on perfect opportunity, because really the NFL is really, man, the owners, pretty much own the players. They don't have really a say. They don't have, that'll be an opportunity for them to have real collective bargaining.
Right.
Like
Okay, so then I'll give you another scenario. So that's just like the individual having the power, right? So then my other question would be like, if we don't have it as an individual, we have it as the collective. A team now to me, Colin Kaepernick can go into the league next year. And this is how you do it. The entire Baltimore Ravens defense says we're not stepping on the field until Colin Kaepernick is signed as Lamar Jackson's backup. I feel like they're going to have to do that. There's no way you can replace that entire defense. That starting defense is too good. You're not going to be able. So if they, as a collective whole, said we're going to hold the Baltimore Ravens hostage, sign Colin Kaepernick, or we're not, or we're all holding out.
Right.
I think they would cave. I think they would cave.
I believe if more players, specifically players like, you know what, I'll take that back what I said earlier. Specifically players like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, even who else is still there? Peyton Manning still in the league at the time. He's on his way out.
I would say Andrew Luck probably got that clout in Indianapolis.
Yeah, Andrew Luck. Who else?
Mahomes got it in Kansas City.
Yeah, and Phillip Rivers out of San Diego.
Yeah, he got it.
You know,
I don't think Russell Wilson has it. I don't think he has it in Seattle. Maybe. I mean, he's won a Super Bowl, but I don't think he has it.
Pete Carroll on that team.
Matt Ryan has it, but he's not. We're not.
Matt, he allowed third ball. Matter of fact, we get rid of Matt.
We're not gonna go into a football discussion right now. I completely agree with you, but Matt Ryan, he has to pull. He has it in Atlanta because if he held out, the Falcons wouldn't know. But we're not. But he's not. That's not him. He's not gonna do that.
That would be dope.
Yeah, and Eli had it 7 years ago. 7 years. I say 6-7 years ago. Eli.
Right.
You know what I mean? But bottom line is that's movements have either been started by peoples or collectives of people. And what I'm saying is NFL, the kneeling is over with. Like it's not even discussed. They don't even show the national anthem. They come in, they're talking. You see them in the background, and you kind of hear it. It's over with. Right. So the bottom line is, if somebody wants to silence you, you have to find a way around that. So that's the only reason why, like, I was kind of like bothered this weekend because I felt bad for Travis Scott. I don't know the dude. I like his album, Astro World, but at the same time, I didn't like it, and I didn't like people getting on Big Boy is what really got me upset. Because when I saw people coming after Big Boy on social media, I said, "You got to be kidding me." I
the man is a lot, bro, for Atlanta.
Like that man is Atlanta. That man is Atlanta royalty. Period. I don't care what he did. Like I'll even concede Kanye West with the red hat on. I'll concede it, but still, Kanye West is still a monster when it comes to music. Like you can't really knock. You can knock Kanye's mind. You can knock Kanye's politics, whatever. But when it comes to music, you can't really like touch Kanye. You know what I mean? Right. Like you really, really can't. And like anybody in Chicago who kind of was like, man, I'll get rid of Kanye. I'm kind of looking at y'all the same way. Like when people started getting on Big Boy, like Kanye is Chicago royalty. Like y'all can't just give up on Kanye just because you don't like what he's doing. I mean, you don't have to support him, whatever case, support his politics. But if somebody starts attacking, he still got to be your guy, is my point. And when people started coming on Big Boy, I'm saying Big Boy. I mean, did you see what they had on? ATL is a fur coat. He came out in a Cadillac. What else did you want the man to do? You understand what I'm saying? Like, it didn't really get more Atlanta unless he came out in a bubble Chevrolet Caprice, but he needed a convertible. You know what I mean? Like it don't get no more Atlanta than that. You know what I'm saying? So that was my major problem. And when people started coming out the Big Boy, I'm like, yo, this ain't right. And I think this is where we gotta get out of this. I'm gonna just jump on everything everybody tells me how to feel. You shouldn't feel no type of way about Big Boy participating in a halftime concert of a show that has kept you entertained all week. You've been going to Super Bowl parties and events, and you're watching the Super Bowl, you're at a Super Bowl party, drinking, having a good time, and then when halftime comes on, all of a sudden you're mad. Like, come on now. Like You can't have it both ways. Either you take a Dre 3000 and say, hey, look, I'm not rocking with the Super Bowl. I'm not going to perform at the Super Bowl. I'm not going to go to any of these parties. Don't ask me to come to your events. The incredible event that Jermaine Dupri put on last Monday with the I was mad when I was on the show, when I found out who was on stage while we were doing the show last week. It was like the who's who of anybody who's ever had a hit song in Atlanta.
Right.
None of those people had anything negative said about them in Centennial Park. I'm talking about Scrappy, Trillville, David Banner, Pastor Troy, Goody Mob, Crime Mob, Yin Yang Twins. It was so many people at this concert. Young Dro, Dungeon Family.
Right.
I think they had OJ the Juice Man. I think even Big Oomp made a show. You know what I mean? So it's a situation where they got everybody to come together and do a concert once again for the Super Bowl, because you're not putting that concert on without the NFL money. Period. Mm-hmm. You're not putting it on without their money. So whoever went to that concert, it to me, it's just very hypocritical that you would even open your mouth and dare speak to Big Boy in a manner that is not of ATL royalty, when that's got to be that man's dream to do what he did. You understand what I'm saying? They have been repping the city so hard, and we finally get the Super Bowl here in that stadium, and they even got on Gladys Knight. Like, how you get on the Empress of Soul because she sang the national anthem? You understand what I'm saying? Like, that to me is where I'm just like, yo, I got to draw the line. It ain't even about me trying to be some person that's going, okay, you just for the end up. It ain't about that. It's about, look at who you're attacking. You're attacking Gladys Knight and Big Boy, two people from here. You understand what I'm saying? Gladys Knight is from the projects of Atlanta. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand why these people were getting attacked just for what they did. That to me, if I was an entertainer, I would have performed at the Super Bowl. Because to me, that's like in my own city. Come on now. Like, no. Like, if they could have got like some, because remember, right now, this shows you how weak their point was at the beginning. If you remember the conversation before the Super Bowl, it was, man, when they announced Maroon 5, people got mad. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
And what was the reason why people got mad? Oh man, how they gonna have a halftime show in Atlanta and not have nobody from Atlanta perform?
Right. I remember all that. Yep.
That was the first argument that was made. So that's just why I call. Like I said, man, I just felt real like people were being real hypocritical this weekend. That's all, man. But yeah, I'm about to bring the show to a close, man. You got anything else, man? Or anything you want to add? Because like that was just my whole little spiel about people just need to have their own opinions and don't just be led around and people telling you how to feel about something as you're participating in events and things for something that you say you do.
As I probably said, how I feel about it is, man, just to close things out too as well. It's okay if people have different opinions, and just because a person doesn't agree the way that you want to effectively protest or affect change does not make them against you at the end of the day. They may just have a different way of looking at it, a different way of doing it. Everybody has different backgrounds, thought process, different outlook on everything or whatever. And, and calling people out and, basically trying to make them look, basically calling people out and trying to shame them is the ill reverse, especially in our community. Because you know how our people are. Our people, we go into automatic defense mode and it's war. You know what I'm saying? So we don't, we won't budge. We'll shut down and listen.
Right. And the one thing I will say, and this is a positive note, and this is what I want people who look like us to understand. And this is no offense to anybody else in this country, but if you look at where we began in this country to where we are in this country now, it's something to be extremely proud of. It's not nothing to hang their head. It doesn't mean that just because we're Black that bad things don't happen to us. It doesn't mean that we're not discriminated upon, but let's just go ahead and go down the history books. We came here in chains, but we showed out in front of Adolf Hitler in the Berlin Games. You understand what I'm saying? We have been breaking, we broke the color barrier in baseball. We broke the color barrier in basketball. We broke the color barrier in football. You understand what I'm saying? We broke the color barrier with billionaires, millionaires. We were doing things in this country that other minorities can't say. Other minorities can't claim a president. Other minorities can't claim that weren't even brought here in chains. Right now, we understand this is a majority white country, right? And we are no longer the second minority in this country. We're not no longer the biggest minority in this country. But even political representation, attorney generals, all these major positions, we have done so much in this country, and I think it's not something to be forgotten about. We broke the barriers in the military with the Buffalo Soldiers, the Harlem Hellfighters, the Tuskegee Airmen. I think it's so much for us to be proud of in this country as Black people that we should not let some of these things that we see go on kind of deter us. Because if you look, if you want to basically just start lining up the accomplishments that we've done, you can't do anything in this country without a Black person have invented it. You can't go to work without seeing something that a Black person invented in this country. And like I said, from chains to what not being able to do anything in this country without something that we invented is something, like I said, to be very proud of. And I think instead of always pointing out the negative and saying like, oh, people are always doing this against us, look at what we've been able to do in spite of all the odds being against us. Look at what we've been able to produce and create. The hip hop culture, even though a lot of people might not agree with it, it's worldwide now. We influence music,
everything.
We influence fashion. It's everywhere. I even heard a basketball announcer say, "Oh, the crowd is lit tonight," and I said, "You got to be kidding me!"
Right.
We have influenced so many things in this country, and I feel like it's all getting left out because we want to pick it. We want to point out some bad things that happen to us. You know, kind of sort of like my man on ESPN, he calls it bad beats, right? We want to point out the bad beats and focus on the bad beats, but we don't want to focus on the overall picture of what we've done in this country. So I think we need to stop being so negative against each other and just go back and reread your history. Go back and look at some of these major figures where you understand what I'm saying. Like, if you don't like Dr. Ben Carson, but you want to be a doctor, go back and look at some of the surgeries he performed. Forget his politics. Go back and look at how brilliant of a man this man was outside of politics. And you can start to appreciate your people a little bit. It doesn't mean you're going to like everybody. It doesn't mean you're going to agree with them. But like I said, regardless of, I mean, you know, I don't agree with a lot of what Dr. Cornel West says, but he's still a brilliant man. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not going to be like, oh, God, that dude's dumb. You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't have to agree with people to appreciate what they do, and you don't have to agree with people to appreciate what they bring to not only our community, but to the general country and the culture as a whole. So that's all I wanted to say tonight, man. I'm just trying to be more positive, man, because it was kind of bothering me just seeing people just be negative towards some really, really great people. And like I said, Big Boy is Atlanta. And if you don't understand what him performing at the Super Bowl meant, then you either not from here or you just don't get it. So once again, I appreciate Anthony coming on after the Super Bowl hangover to come on the show and talk to us a little bit. I appreciate BJ coming on as well. Like I said, I will see everybody. Maybe I'm gonna be out of the country next week, so depending on how my Wi-Fi and depending on if they let my laptop through customs security, they should, but I don't really see why no problem. But yeah, if I get my laptop through security, I will be broadcasting live from the Dominican Republic next Monday. So until then, I will see everybody. May y'all have a blessed week. And this has been the Aftermath with Saul G. And we will see y'all next week.